I personally really don't mind spoilers a lot of times, especially when it's something simple like, oh, this character dies.
Like how Dumbledore dies on page
I literally
748.
that's literally what I was gonna bring up. Literally.
Hey, it's your guy Ren. Welcome to Cinema Slime, the podcast for film lovers who can't stop talking about the movies that move us, confuse us, or just make us want to yell at the screen. I'm joined, as always, by my brilliant co-hosts Harrison and Scott. Let's go. Well, I have an icebreaker idea. Unfortunately, you're long distance, Harry, so it doesn't really pertain to you, but you can still watch and laugh. Do you know what Birdie Bot's beans are, Scott?
I have in fact read and watched Harry Potter yet.
I didn't know it was a Harry Potter thing until I had one. Okay, so here's the concept. There's a big box of jelly beans, and every flavor has a counter flavor. One's delicious, one's disgusting. So we're gonna pick a color. Let's go with green.
Scott, I feel like you saw him set this up and you were like, oh God.
I feel like this is the perfect example of what happens if you let artists run the world instead of the free market.
Yeah. All right. One of these is green apple. Pretty good flavor. The other one is grass. I'm gonna let you choose green pill or dark green pill.
And just of note, you can't no squishing the jelly bean and then smelling
Alright.
it. You have to just
No
pop it
smell,
right in your
and you
mouth.
have to swallow it.
I'm going dark green out of the light green and dark green. They're very similar.
All right, here we go.
Is grass not that bad? I feel like Scott got it. I feel like he had a look.
I got grass.
Yeah, I was gonna say it doesn't taste too grassy.
Yeah, I definitely got grass. It's not bad.
Moo.
It's just
There
not
you go.
great. Okay, this next one. This might be the last one we do.
Unless if you get burned twice, it'll be the last one you do.
Okay, one's watermelon and one is booger.
Ooh, classic pick.
You choose.
I feel like the risk is
Right.
way higher on this one.
By the way, me and Ren are both eating these at the same time. But I get to choose.
No worries,
These look
listeners.
exactly the same.
I'm monitoring the whole thing.
I want you to know
3,
something
2,
before you eat this. Did you already eat it? I talked about this with my kids the other day. I have never eaten a booger in my entire life.
Very impressive.
So if I eat this booger flavor, I actually won't know if it's booger. Yeah, I see little kids eat their booger sometimes and I want to puke. Okay, here we go.
That's gonna be bad. What if you enjoy it?
Ren.
Like, I do love salty everything.
Development. I don't know. I don't see any joy on Ren's face right now, which is concerning. Because booger flavors are great.
Something to admit to you. They were both booger flavor.
I have something to tell you. I was like, this doesn't taste like a good.
It doesn't taste like a good thing.
Yeah. That is disgusting. Okay, so anyways, there's also I'm not doing this, but there's earthworm, earwax, black pepper. Where's another gross one? Sausage. Oh, Knox had a sausage one yesterday and he like dry heaved. He was like, it was awesome.
Watermelon. I just got to say it just like Ron. Watermelon.
And then there's soap and vomit. When I would do vomit. So I'm done.
Bogey.
Yeah, boogers. I'm good with boogers.
I got a good booger story though. I showed up to a client's house, opened up his car, and it was in pretty rough condition, but that's what our job is. And I'm cleaning it up. I get to the front seat, and there's this glob of something on the side of the seat. And I bet you guys can guess what it was. I'm like a good minute into like scraping it and like peeling it off. And about halfway through, I just had this realization and I put my hands down and I was like, this is boogers. This is some guy's collection of boogers as he's driving, just wiping it on the side of his seat, on a nice consistent basis. And I felt no shame in bringing it up to my client. We wrapped up. Everything was looking great. And I was like, basically brought him to the front seat. And I was like, hey, there was something on the side of the seat. It was really difficult to get off, really sticky, really consistent. I mean, a really large collection of whatever it was. So I am going to tack on an extra $25 charge. And the guy, put his, scratched the back of his neck and he's like, yeah, that's understandable. Okay.
I just remember your dad I watched a recording of your dad giving a talk at like a convention once. And he was like, I just remember him mentioning cleaning boogers off the sides of seats. And I was like, the fact that he brought that up means that that's probably a somewhat consistent thing. Boogers on the sides of the driver's seat.
I did a car yesterday, and the amount of fingernails around the driver's seat was pretty incredible. Like,
Yeah, I've detailed for a buddy. Yeah, especially when they're bored. Like people get nervous when they drive. So they're just like, but yeah, I detailed for a buddy and he's like, yeah, it's not too bad. We're just selling it. And I show up, it's not bad. And then like, I don't know where, it sounds like your guy was on the side. This guy did it right between his legs, like on the bottom edge of the seat. And like, I haven't talked to him since. Let's strain that relationship. I was like, dude,
I just
you
can't
like
look at you
set
the
me up.
same anyway.
Yeah. I was like, I thought you were a clean dude. He's written a book. He's like an author and he's like really prominent in his church and does like great work, like building humanitarian like homes in Uganda and like doing all this stuff. But I'm like, yeah, but you wipe your boogers on your car seat. So it kind of negates all that. Everything good about you is gone.
You can like blackmail him.
This is our kind of judgmental right here.
Do a barrel roll.
A crew of 6 astronauts embark on a privately funded mission to Europa, Jupiter's icy moon, hoping to find extraterrestrial life in its subsurface ocean. Isolated from Earth by lost communications and facing escalating system failures, they press on with their mission. The film, told through recovered found footage, reveals their chilling discoveries as they finally penetrate Europa's icy shell, leading to a terrifying encounter with the unknown. This is 2013's Europa Report. Scotty, this was on your list. Go for it. Tell us about this. You kind of shared a little bit last week, but the floor is yours.
Yeah, so I stumbled across this movie totally accidentally. It was in 2013. I was watching Netflix. I happened to be home alone that day, which is not super common. I don't really blind watch movies. I've said in the past, like something really has to be highly recommended, and time is a good recommender. So I would rather watch something old, but this was new. It was on Netflix, and I didn't really know at the time that Netflix was branching out into like Netflix originals, and it was pretty new concept at the time too. So I popped it on, and it's one of the best movies I think I've ever seen. I think rewatching it, this is the second time I've watched it for this show. I still think it's one of the best movies I've ever seen. And over the years, whenever people ask me about space movies, I always tell them to go watch Europa Report. And I don't know if anyone ever has. And no one's ever heard of it. But it's one of those movies that just truly affected me. It was very slimy. It stuck with me. I think about it a lot. And so, yeah, I've got all sorts of rabbit holes we could go down with this one. I'm really excited to see what you guys thought of it and the rabbit holes that you're going to bring up, because it's going to be good.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to lie. This movie really blew my mind. I was shocked how, I don't know, it's so good. Like I don't know. So like the way I take notes is I'm usually watching the movie and I'm pausing the movie, taking a note, pausing the movie, taking a note, and so on and so forth. I paused this movie maybe twice to take a note because I was just so engrossed in it. And at the end of it, all I did was I made a list of 6 things that I think this movie did perfectly, and then a question I wanted to ask you guys. That's all the notes I took, and I feel like I have so much to talk about when it comes to this film. As a quick side note, though, I like that this was a Netflix original actually, because I remember there was they've got away from it, but for some reason I remember when Netflix started putting out Netflix originals, and I feel like they were probably the first streaming service to ever do that, at least as far as I recall. But I remember there was a phase where if it said Netflix original on the bottom of it, I was like, it's gonna be a banger. Because I remember watching like 4 or 5 movies and maybe a couple TV shows in there, and every single one of them was so dang good. And I missed that phase where everything they put out was really good.
Yeah, that's sort of changed over time, I think. Can't win them all. But yeah, I think opening notes just for this movie, I was like, I like how this movie's opening up with the found footage feeling, not realizing that the entire film was going to be like that. And I sort of forgot, like, as I was going through it, because the movie is just, the main thing I think of is the over the shoulder shot. At first I was like, is this, I don't know, I didn't love it. And then as time went on, I was like, this is really effective. This is like over the shoulder, you're kind of paranoid, and this, yeah, just the found footage thing. I was like, is this all going to be like Blair Witch Project in space? I didn't really know what to expect, because I like movies blind, kind of like what you did, Scott, the first time you watched it. But I don't like to watch trailers prior. I think they reveal way too much. But there was a few things in this movie that really surprised me. And just, I want to shout out the director. We'll go into it a little bit later, but this movie does something extremely unique that I don't know if any other movie does.
So I haven't I can't really recall ever watching a movie that's found footage, kind of that vibe about it. I've never seen Blair Witch Project, and that's literally the only one I can think of that is a found footage kind of film. But I was really
Cloverfield. I feel like
oh,
Cloverfield is more
okay.
up your alley.
Yeah, that's no, I've seen Cloverfield, and if I'm recalling correctly, it was a long time ago I saw it, but I remember liking that movie. I don't know. A lot of people I watched it with, they were like, I almost threw up like halfway through that, but I don't know. It never really hit me. Just to echo what you said, Ren, it starts out very found footage, and you feel like, okay, this is kind of a documentary type of after the fact type of a film. I completely forgot that it was supposed to be a found footage film. Like easily like 30 minutes in, I just completely forgot that it was supposed to be that. That sounds like a negative, but I feel like that's a huge positive to me because it's so good and so engrossing. And it also it kind of has this vibe of like I think it's because it's consistent when you see the same camera angles and the same sections of the ship over and over again. I don't know. It feels like I don't have to process as much of like, okay, I'm in a new section, or oh, okay, this is a new scenery or whatever. It's like, okay, I already know where I am, so my brain doesn't have to like register that. I can just focus on what's happening in the film and focus on the characters and what they're going through, their psyche.
Yeah, the kind of the character development in the first 20, 30 minutes is pretty awesome. You know, some of the crew members talk about their family and they're sending messages back home, and you see the food. And I was thinking, I was like, space sounds really fun at first, and then you think about eating that food, and I'm out.
I did have a cast moment, like I don't know, scream out. I guess I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's Miss Honey from Matilda." I think we all have a thing for Miss Honey. Let's just be honest. What about you, Scott? Was coming back to this movie just like was it better the next time? Did it, like what was your feelings about it?
Man, that's I don't know.
Honestly, I feel like we all want to talk about something, and it's all so big that we're like, I don't know where to start because there's so much to go through.
I agree. Yeah, no, this movie for me, the second time, knowing what was made it sad from the very beginning. Instead of like the thrill story, like I remember how everyone sacrificed themselves bit by bit throughout the movie, and so I like preempted sad going into the movie. But so it did like gut punch me as hard this time. But I think it's like I went to a little track of just the endurance and just like that quiet endurance that life brings. Like I felt that whole movie. I think that was amazing. They were able to capture that. They were able to portray it so well, had so much impact, even knowing what was coming. This movie reminded me a lot of like real life polar expeditions. You know, you get the classified ad in the newspaper from forever ago. You know, and it's like we need men that can survive on their own, life not guaranteed, $1,000 reward. You know, that kind of thing. And how those people went out into the absolute freezing unknown with their boat that got frozen in the ice and cracked and broke, and then they were on foot with their dog sleds and stuff, and how many people froze out there. And the only reason we know about these expeditions is because they left, and like 50 to 100 years later we found their journals by recovering them. Those journals are an equivalent of this found footage kind of concept of piecing together what they discovered and the absolute like sheer obsession they had. I have so many analogs to my own life, watching these people do this thing. And I think this theme throughout the movie that really impacted me was about whether or not these obsessions matter in the long run. Like they seem to, but how important individual life is, and the sacrifices that people chose to go through and how they handled them and stuff like that. It's like the cost is so great, and is the cost worth it? And it's ambiguous at the end whether or not you feel like the cost was worth it, because you're so sad and you're so proud of them, but then you were like, was it worth it? Was it worth it for them, for their families, for the world? I think depending on how much you value finding extraterrestrial life or whatever, you can make a perfect analog to that. But at the same time, I think it's really easy to make parallels to any kind of worthwhile endeavor that requires sacrifice.
I didn't think about applying it to my own life. Sometimes I get trapped in the movie, but yeah, when you apply those lessons and those kind of golden rules to your own life, that's really deep. That's good.
One thing I was really impressed with in this film was you were talking about like was the discovery worth it at the very end? I feel like one thing they did really good was they really showed what it feels like to discover something and have that scientific moment of realizing something way bigger than yourself. Because let's be honest, this actually kind of goes back to our Prometheus. I said something pretty similar where I feel like most people on this planet and all of us, I don't think we're ever going to have a moment where we discover something that is so much bigger than who we are. And to be just in complete and utter awe of what you're looking at, I feel like that doesn't happen very often for most people. But I think this film did just an incredible, incredible moment of helping us feel that way. The moment that really hit me was when Katya, she gets out of the lander and she's on Europa and she's walking towards, and it's one of those things you're like, she's going out and getting basically soil samples. That's all it is. But she just gets out there and she just stands there for a little while. She has limited oxygen. She's on limited time, but she still stands there and it's like, I can't even describe how this feels. And I mean, huge props to that actress. I think almost every scene, that last scene she is in is probably the most slimiest thing I've ever watched in my life. I was so impressed by her and by the filming of it and everything. But like I said, I feel like they brought that feeling of discovery and made me feel that way. I mean, not to the level she was experiencing it or the character, but yeah, just to give me a little taste of that, it felt great to have that feeling.
This movie somehow manages to have the most boring shots and cinematography on purpose, the found footage and fixed camera angles and stuff, but they use it so effectively that I don't know how this just goes back to how artists can see a thing that I can't see, and then they can make it a thing. And I know Paige has said that. So like Paige is my wife. She writes novels, and I just finished a beta read through of her entire book. And the whole second half of the book, I literally could not put the book down. And I talked to her afterwards. I was like, I know you. I've lived with you for 15 years. I love you. I feel like I understand your brain. And then I read one of your books and I go, how the hell did you capture that? Like,
That's awesome.
this is what's in your head? This is incredible. Like, explain to me like how you do this. And she's like, I don't know. I just do it, and
It's the flow.
I'm similar with game design and stuff. Like, I can tangibly see systems, game rules and systems in my head that other people can't, and I know artists, illustrators, or movie directors and stuff, they have this ability to create things. And I love that we're doing this podcast for the love of film, because we're not a film criticism podcast. We really are. We're talking about it because they're incredible and because it's art, because you can do different things with different ways. And what are you trying to say? And yeah, there's criticisms in it, but all art is imperfect, and anyway, that's such a roundabout way to come back to the whole movie. My heart was just pounding. Like, my adrenaline was heightened throughout this entire film. And like when Katya breaks through the ice and she's going down, she's not like panicking or anything. She's just stunned looking at the thing, knowing she's going to die. And she just watches it. And then her feed cuts. And I was like, I don't know. It was perfect. It was perfect.
I love when she's, when the ice breaks and she's falling and it just shows her location on the screen and you just see falling. I was like,
Yes.
wow, that's crazy.
So I haven't read any H.P. Lovecraft before, but my younger brother Cameron, he mentions to me, he's like, yeah, H.P. Lovecraft is the one person who can say the fear that I felt and what I saw was indescribable, and it still puts the fear in you. And apparently that happens in his stories. I think that it was perfect to the fact that it didn't show us what she was looking at, and all you saw was her face. And it was just it was this absolute perfect mixture of awe and horror. And like, I felt like I was drowning watching that scene. It was, oh my gosh. Like, I'm serious. I rewound that like 3 times just staring at it. And I was, yeah, it's probably the best scene in the whole movie to me. And that's the ooziest scene to me. I keep thinking about that. I've been thinking about that scene for the past 2 days. Yeah, like I said, props to that actress because she pulled it off very well.
The movie takes a really sudden turn when what's his name? When James Corrigan, his character, when he gets the tear in his suit, starts depressurizing, or I can't remember the exact term they use, and then sort of sacrifices himself. Dude, that shot where it's just the first person shot, the space station gets smaller and smaller, and all you see is his arm. Dude, I got choked up, and I was like looking around because I was watching it downstairs. My father-in-law walked in, Allie was watching, and then Cash was just sitting there. We were all just watching this part of the movie, and I was like looking around at them as we were watching it, and everyone was just glued to the screen. It was really
Yeah.
cool, and
No, yeah.
it's terrifying to just float out into the middle of nowhere, and like the only thing that you have any right to like be near is out of view. You're
Dude.
completely lost. That part was
Oh my
awesome.
gosh. No, yeah. That was absolutely terrifying. And just I honestly, everybody in this film did an incredible job. I loved, like, you can feel his hope just completely disappearing in his voice just every second he's floating away from that station. I mean, just, and I almost kind of love that. I love that the crew, it sounds bad, but I feel like they didn't say anything to him. I think they were all just in complete shock and just so like hopeless in that moment. There wasn't like James, there was no like dramatic anything really. It was just, we have to accept this. There's nothing we can do about it, and we're just gonna be here for you. And yeah, I don't know. It hit me really hard too. That was really
I
rough.
think they reacted in a way that a real space crew would act. I think they're trained and they've gone through simulations and so many just over and over until they go out just to like anywhere in space. I think they hit that right on the head. It was really good.
Mhm.
So when I told you guys that I watched this movie and I cried, that was the scene I cried.
Yeah.
I also cried at the very
Understandable.
end too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
the two scenes was when he floated off into space, and at the very end when I don't remember
I
any
know
of
what
the
you're gonna say.
characters' names, when she's sitting there looking behind her and the place
Nora.
is filling up with water and she keeps
Dude.
looking behind her, just absolutely terrified that the end is coming, and she chose to make it happen for all of the important scientific reasons and stuff. And then it ends, and man, I'm like crying thinking about it now. Like,
Yeah, I did too.
I just like such an incredible job capturing exactly what I think they were trying to portray.
So my viewing on this film, it was kind of funny. My viewing on this film was just a very smidge altered because of actually what Ren said. The last thing you said, but in the last podcast, was you're like, I just know there's a squid in it.
I know I regret saying that.
Which was really funny because literally I was watching the film and I was like, okay, apparently there's a squid. I don't know where this squid's showing up. Like, I feel like it's not going to show up. And then of course it's like the ending of the film. But one thing that another thing on my list of like the 6 perfect things they did, one of them was the fact that they made space the bad guy. Or like, I wouldn't say the bad guy, but it was the most terrifying thing of this film. So one thing about Prometheus, just to go back to our last episode, I enjoyed Prometheus, but the one thing I kind of realized was like, honestly, you could have took Prometheus and everything that happened to that, stuck it in Antarctica on Earth or in the middle of a jungle, and you could probably do the same thing. It could probably be the same film. Like, there's nothing really unique about the fact that they're in space. And this is Europa Report is a true space film to me because it really involves the fact that you're off planet, you're in the middle of the void, and like every decision they make throughout, pretty much the whole movie is like, okay, we have to remember that we're in space. Like, that there's no oxygen outside, that there's so many unique, the part that really hit me hard also during the James death scene was when what was it, they were pulling that panel out, it got some of the, I'm guessing it was the fuel, like the jet fuel on him, and they were just like, you cannot come inside. Like, if you come inside, the air in this place is toxic and it'll compromise everything. And that hit me really hard too. I was just like, as soon as that happened, I was like, he's dead. Like, what are they going to do? Like, what are they going to do? There's nothing they can do. And so I think they just really, like I said, they made space like an actual, I don't know if saying it's a character is the right way to say it, but they really put a lot of thought into the environment they were in throughout the whole film.
Coming back to a video game design concept, it's like the movie was PvE instead of PvP.
Yes. I like that. It's true, honestly.
What does that mean?
Player versus environment,
Okay.
instead of player versus player.
I don't know if I've ever seen a movie do this and pull it off as well as this movie has. But throughout the film, you're watching these video logs kind of talking into the camera. And I think throughout the film, you sort of assume, like Rosa, when she's talking to the camera, that she's made it back to Earth.
Yeah, I was gonna bring
Dude,
that up.
when the
Killed me.
viewer realizes that these are all just being filmed like right before the end of her life and not back on Earth because she doesn't have a helmet on. You can't really see everything that's in the behind her. You don't know that she's in the spaceship. That part, I was like, dude, what? Like a plot twist by ways of like the viewer not knowing their place in the universe. Does that make sense?
Yeah, the nonlinear, the whole movie was nonlinear. It jumps back and forth through time, and you give all the graces for that because it's portrayed as this documentary, right? And you've got footage from people on Earth, and so you're jumping around, and most of the footage is time stamped.
Hmm.
And so you can ground yourself in time, whether it's been 2 years into the mission or 6 months into the mission or whatever the case is. And that's used for great effect. I think that was done really well, but it was very obvious the purpose for that was to build tension,
Mhm.
from a cinematic standpoint. But I agree. I'm so glad you brought it up. That's one of the things on my list I wanted to bring up.
That's elite.
And
Yeah.
how do you create a plot twist in a found footage, open, fully transparent bunch of videos, you know?
Hmm.
Because you know at the very beginning that people are gonna, it's like very, very beginning of the movie, you know that James's character is gone. And you know that that's gonna be revealed at some point. That's the mystery. You're like, how does he die though? And everyone's sad about it. They keep alluding to it, but it's like how, and then they show that like 3/4 of the way through the film, they finally reveal how he actually died, and it was such a gut punch. And then to have her plot twist at the end, I agree. I don't have
Yeah.
anything more to say. I think you captured it.
So my one question I want to ask for you guys: do you like watching a movie knowing someone's gonna die? Like just in that moment, we knew James was gonna be dead. Like, do you like having that sense of suspense, that anticipation of when it's gonna happen? How did it happen? Or would you have preferred not knowing anything at all and then seeing his death?
Wait, can we back up just for a second? How did
That's
you
like,
guys? I don't think I caught that. So did you guys? Here's what I'm curious. There's a shot where you have the two pilots in the front, and then the hole down, and then you see the four
mm-hmm.
other crew members sitting there. I just out of nowhere I realized one of those seats was missing. Is that how you guys knew that Corrigan
So
dies, or do they say it?
there's two moments in the film. I believe there's actually a moment where they actually say that he's gone or something
Okay.
like that. And then there's a couple scenes where they throw up little tiny images all stacked on top of each other in a cube or whatever. Like
Yes.
there's one scene where you hear him scream, like
Yeah. Okay.
very.
Yes. Yes.
And
Yes.
yeah, like I said, I feel like they actually say the fact that like he's gone or James is gone. Like, what do we do now? There's some moment in the film that does that, but that scream, quick scream moment, that's kind of the solidifier that like someone is dying.
Well, okay. So to answer your question, I don't mind that. I don't think a death is the finality of anything, really. It's just part of the story. So, but that is to say, the director has to pull it off correctly.
Personally, me, it almost 90% of the time it enhances things for me, including
Mm.
like honestly, this might be a little weird, but I personally really don't mind spoilers a lot of times, especially when it's something simple like, oh, this character dies.
Like how Dumbledore dies on page
I literally
748.
that's literally what I was gonna bring up. Literally. Okay, so my experience with that, when the sixth book came out for the Harry Potter series, one thing I always did, and the one thing I always did was I would flip through all the chapters to look at the picture and just to kind of get a sense of what was going on. And I remember flipping to that chapter in the sixth book, and it was like the White Tomb, and I was like, Dumbledore's dead. Like I know it's gonna happen. But honestly, spoilers like that never really ruin anything for me most of the time because lots of times it's like, oh, Dumbledore's gonna die. And it's like, okay, hold on. How? What happened? What was the reaction? Like it's not the event of him dying that is interesting to me. It's what happens and what led up to it and what are the repercussions of it. And so in this film, when I knew he was gonna die, like I'm like, okay, he's gonna die, and then you're watching it, and then just every scene that he's talking to his kid or leaving a message or anything he does is just like another punch to your heart, another just hitting you hard and making you love this guy like even quicker than normal
He
because
was
he's
he
not going to
was
survive.
he was the class clown. Everybody needed him, and once he was gone, the ship was dead.
Yeah,
Like for a year and a half, they just sat there in absolute silence and awkwardness with each other. And everything prior to him dying was like bright and happy and funny, and he was the kind of volatile, emotional guy and stuff like that. He had his family to look forward to and everything, but lovable, a lovable guy, right?
Mhm.
And everyone else is just so stoic that I don't know. It's like their silence speaks so much larger because of how much he brought out of them beforehand and how dead inside they were afterwards.
I sort of feel like if I was on the ship, kind of like what you said, Harrison, like I would be like Katya. I would just be like staring.
Just
Like every shot, yeah, every shot of Europa's like surface or when they go over Jupiter, like I could just stare at that. I love a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
of the scenery and all the cinematic shots in this film.
Can I interject with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah.
So I'm going to assume that because you're human, you've experienced the same thing, but I've never talked about this with anybody. You know that time when you go outside at night and you look up at the stars and you lay there and you look up and you have that absolute insignificant feeling and that vertigo of like I'm on the edge of this ball that's hurtling through space and I'm going to fall into space right now. There is nothing between me and that massive expanse. Nobody's holding me here, you know. I feel like this movie felt like that the whole way through.
Mhm.
And it's like it's weird because that's not just an existential dread to stare off into space like that. It also instills the wonder. I think the duality of that is where this movie excels. It manages to capture both the dread and the wonder and the awe.
Mhm. Yeah, what was it? I was talking to our stepbrother Dallin. Actually, it's kind of funny. I think Europa Report is the first movie that we've watched that I instantly recommended to somebody, and I was telling Dallin about this movie, and I was going through the concept of it, and he told me he was like, "Yeah, actually, I remember. I guess there's a famous photo. I should have googled it. I guess there's a famous photo where they sent out, one of the telescopes that takes incredible photos and makes you feel so insignificant. But I guess one of the photos it took was it turned back to Earth and took a photo of it, and it's just this tiny little blue dot in the middle of nothing, and it's just like, oh, you know,
Yeah. I feel like this movie came out like within a year of us discovering Europa. I didn't do any research on that, but I remember like hearing about it and then this movie came out. But it could just be one of those things where like you're like, oh, like I have this example of this, but like you start to notice things that you don't notice because you're looking for them. Like I remember I bought a an older car and it was brown. I was like, it's kind of ugly. No one has a brown car. And then I started seeing brown cars literally everywhere.
And then you saw everybody that had like a Z.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, oh, not as rare as I thought. I'm just a sheep. But yeah, I feel like it could have been that.
Obey.
Yeah, they live.
consume.
Yes. There was another part of the movie that gave me a pretty awesome reaction. But when they are in the ship and they turn on the engines to leave Europa, they're going up, and then you get that feeling when the engines fail and it starts falling back to the surface. I audibly, like in front of everyone watching the movie, I was like, "Oh shit!" Like I like that falling backwards feeling. Like it, I thought that was amazing, and I just wanted to shout that scene out because that
I,
I didn't think that was going to happen. I thought they were just going to leave him there on the surface,
mhm.
and that's
I
that. But
Speaking of ooziest deaths,
yeah,
what did you think of that one, Harrison?
Oh, with the Woo when he flew back,
Yeah.
that was very it was very shocking, honestly. Like it happened and it felt like a punch to your chest when it happened. It was incredible how they pulled it off. I think one of the best things a film can do ever is make you have an audible or a physical reaction to a scene. Like I think it's just incredible because the amount of average movies I've seen, or even like average comedies I've watched, and I actually specifically remember one time I can't remember what movie it was, but I remember watching the whole thing. And at the end of it, I was like, I think I didn't laugh during that whole thing, but I said, oh, that's funny multiple times, but I never actually laughed while I was watching it. And I think that's a sign of a film that doesn't work. But yeah, no, Europa Report definitely, I had physical reactions to it and audible reactions to it, and that death scene was definitely one of them. I just just one of those like like just oh my gosh.
there was a few things, just some notes I took that I wanted to point out because I think it's incredible, but I don't think they say the word alien once in this movie.
No.
No. No,
That's cool.
yeah, no, I think that goes back to what I was talking about space being quote unquote the enemy. I think there's I would say like when you said like, hey, we're gonna do when we decided to do space movies for our theme this month, I yeah, I just instantly connected it to Alien and the Alien movies. I connected it to other horror movies I've seen or other just more suspenseful films. And it was really awesome to watch this movie. Yes, there's suspenseful and really terrifying moments, but there's also the beauty of it, the real focus on space. It's kind of like I feel like it's got kind of a similar vibe to Interstellar,
Yeah.
where it's very focused in on the actual fact that we're in space. It's not just a setting, it's a whole environment that has to be accounted for.
And I love that you said that. I'm so excited for you to watch 2001: A Space Odyssey. I don't know that.
I think he's ready.
Do you think he's ready? I think after watching this movie, you might be ready.
Yeah, I think this is the primer.
This is the primer for it. I love it, man.
Another thing too, but this movie is exactly 90 minutes long, and it felt like 2 hours, but that's not a bad thing, which is rare. Usually when you feel like a movie's longer than it is, it's because it kind of blows.
This
But
movie was a movie about endurance.
yeah, but also like that claustrophobic, especially those in the camera shots of like all you see is like kind of their eyes. And
Yeah,
their
like
nose.
their forehead.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, yeah.
Just like that feeling of being contained and restricted and alone is exactly. It was really like I wrote, I was like, this is incredibly effective. Like it's working. This isn't my style of film. Like I don't love found footage type films. I haven't seen a bunch, but I've seen a few, and like this is by far the best one that I've seen. Most of them are just scary movies. This one's not scary, but it does something with tension and that build up, and it was great. One other thing that's kind of cool, just a little fact, but there's 9 characters in this whole movie, and you're with 6 of them mostly, but you got the 3 people at ground control, Miss Honey, of course. And most movies don't have 9 characters. I thought that was pretty impressive. Didn't dive too much into the research or how much the budget was, but it was a very small budget film, and
It was
I don't know.
budget was $10 million from what I googled. And the and it's not shocking, but the box office, like how much it made in the box office was like 128K. Absolutely
So
nothing. But well, I think it's because
okay,
because then it went into a Netflix original and then
streaming.
they probably got paid and all that stuff. But
Hmm.
yeah, no, this is a very low budget film. The thing was, yes, it's a low budget film, but really there's only one scene in the whole movie that made me go, yeah, it's a little low budget, but I'm okay with it. It was actually when they get to Europa and they first see it, and it's kind of their view looking down on it and it's spinning. And I was watching it, I was like, that's probably just a basketball just painted or something. Like I could just see like it was the only moment in the whole movie where I kind of got taken out of the film, and I was like, I can see them filming this. They have the camera set up, it's all dark. They just have a basketball set up right there, and it's on this rotating thing. That was the only scene
Extra
that made me.
basketball.
Yeah,
I
pretty
have-
much. That's the
I've
only
been-
scene that really messed me up. But yeah,
I have the Mystery Science Theater 3000 intro footage going through my head right now. It's so low budget on purpose, but it's just
Yeah.
like really crappy miniatures made out of styrofoam on strings and stuff. Yeah.
Good days, man. The good times.
I loved in the end. I don't know if we're ready to talk about the end, but well, two
Go for
things.
it.
First is just kind of a little tie-in to Prometheus. When I watched that, I had no idea it was an alien movie. And then because I was working on the artwork, the thumbnails for our YouTube channel for Europa Report, it was uncovered to me that there was some sort of octopus squid thing. And I hate that I found that out prior because I was kind of expecting it. So I have kind of
Mhm.
polar opposites. I had no idea that Alien was coming in Prometheus at the very end. And then this one, I was waiting for it the entire time.
Mhm.
And I really wish I didn't see that stupid picture of the octopus prior because you see it. I mean, you see lights, they kind of see something off in the distance. But at the end, like you see that squid thing, alien, the last like 10 seconds of the movie, and then it's over. And I love that they did that. I just wish I didn't know that prior.
Because like I said, I kind of knew about the squid thing because you mentioned it, and I was kind of worried that like, okay, is the thing going to be the thing that kills them all, and that's going to be like the end story? And it's like, no, not really. And then when you get to the end, and they see the footage of it, I feel like you have a very similar feeling to how they felt. It's like, oh, it's not the fact that the squid is evil and is killing all of them. The fact is that it's just because it's there. That's the big deal. Is that it's there living on this planet. That's the big deal.
Finding any, I love how excited they are just about finding that Precambrian algae,
Yes.
and just like kind of part of me was just like, that's not exciting at all, but that would change
Mhm.
everything if we just found anything living, any sort of algae, and let alone a giant like squid thing. But I feel like that's, of all the likelihoods of life to be found on another planet, the squid is probably the most likely thing we would find. They're so
Well,
weird. We have them here on Earth, but they are like unlike anything else that we have. And I don't
mhm.
know. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. No, man, I know I've already talked about it, but it's just like scientists like the characters in the movie, like they just have a whole different brain, I feel like. Like they have this thirst for knowledge. They'll do because there was a couple moments in the film where I was like, why the hell are they still doing this? Like turn around, go home. And it's like I just don't have the brain that they have. They have that feeling of we need to do this for the greater good of the world. We need to do this because we need to discover everything we can about this planet, and it's pushing them to do things that are even putting themselves in danger. And my survival brain's just like, what the hell are you doing? Go home. But it's just cool to see characters who have that kind of mind.
So I want to walk down a kind of a weird path. This is a very Scott path. Okay.
Here we go. Get around the campfire.
Do it.
All right. All right. So I was watching this and I was like, there was a really weird. So the movie's so grounded, and then they had this like light off in the distance that keeps flashing, and they start introducing like, was the light even there? Is it in your head? And then they're just like obsessed with this light, and for some reason they can't like not follow the light, and every single person that follows the light dies. But it's not like this building horror; it's like building curiosity as people are dying. And I was like, that's such a weird response to this. Similarly, like my brain says, just go away. Don't follow the light. I was falling asleep last night and I had this like weird connection. I was like, this is like a Will o' the Wisps. It's like
Mm.
so Will o' the Wisp is this like Scottish folklore, um, where out in the marshes or in the woods, there's this light at night that you follow, and you follow it, and it's kind of this terrifying unknown thing. It's kind of analogous to the. It's used a lot in fairy tales and myths, similar to Grimm's fairy tales, and like the woods are dangerous, don't go out there. And so, for example, like the origins of some of these, like the name Will of the Wisps comes from a story of the blacksmith Will, Will Smith, actually, ironically,
Mhm.
who sells his soul to the devil for something, for some treasure or something like that. And then he, in the trade, loses his soul and ends up being this light that lures people into the wisps. It's Will of the Wisps. And it's this fool's errand. And there's lots of stories like Stingy Jack, where jack-o'-lanterns come from. People follow the jack-o'-lantern into the woods and they die. And across cultures, there's always this kind of like alluring thing in the unknown. And that's the parallel that I found that struck me last night, was the light of this squid monster thing is symbolic of a very similar story element. And I'm really interested in like what are the recurring motifs across stories across time, and the structure, and it's not, it's like dream analysis. You don't go, this is what it means. It goes, well, we think this certain way and we process this certain way, so therefore this could mean this thing. And does that relate to your life in some way? Is that impactful for you to study your dreams that way? In this movie, I felt like the light represented this sort of this dangerous allure of the unknown. And the thing that I've been grappling with since I fell asleep last night, all morning before this recording this podcast, is the tension between what what is worth it and what's not worth it. Because if you look at the original Will o' the Wisps origins, it's absolutely a warning. Don't go out in the woods. Don't step beyond your natural order, the Prometheus story.
Mm.
But this is like, no, it's a double-edged sword. If you step out of the comfort zone, you'll probably die. However, you'll also have great risk for great reward. And that led me to this sort of almost like global rule of thumb, or like a way of living or a way of seeing the world, of like every treasure that you seek after takes sacrifice. And is the sacrifice worth it to you? Is So treasure could be anything: knowledge, money, a good relationship with somebody. We're all married. If you want to have a good relationship with your spouse, you have to sacrifice who you are, and they have to sacrifice who they are to make a good pair. And that's what makes a healthy relationship. And that's worth it. If you're bullish and you don't step into the unknown and follow that, the allure of the treasure, and sacrifice yourself in the process, like, what have you gotten? And I think there's catchy or kitschy like things, no pain no gain, or proof of work, or whatever the case is, to underlie a concept. And I feel like this can kind of go in that same that same category of, like, there's so much value in seeing the world through a lens of obsession towards a treasure that is not guaranteed, and recognizing that for you to have that requires sacrifice. And that's probably worth it. It's probably worth it, but you also know that it's like raw, it's dangerous, and not in the comfortable way. Like, it really means like you have to break who you are for something better. And this movie, I can't stop thinking about it because of that. Like, I feel like I'm a changed person. And this theme has followed me throughout the past decade since I watched it originally. It's followed me this far, and I haven't been able to articulate it until I knew I was going to be put on the spot and I would need to say it publicly. But I think that that is something that I have tried to live by, is that sacrifice is important. You have to be uncomfortable. You have to let go of your comfort and the things that you love to grow. And we biologically need survival and comfort, and we need to grow, or we're not thriving. And this movie, I think, is symbolic, and such a good analog as a mirror for ourselves of, like, when you're obsessing over a thing, are you obsessing over something trivial like Stingy Jack or Will Smith, the blacksmith, to become a Will of the Wisps? Are you selling your soul to the devil for what you're getting in return? Or are you like Christ, and you're sacrificing yourself for a greater good, whether in your own life, and that's like a connection to divinity, something like that. This movie really, really impacted me.
I love the part at the end. The final conclusion left me just like speechless. But when it shows, I think the entire movie in reverse.
Oh,
And
and then I cried.
yeah, the whole movie goes in reverse. And then I think it's the last thing you see before the credits roll, but you just see the crew like smiling and taking a picture together. And I forgot how like joyous and like a like it was an amazing moment at the beginning of the film when the crew is so excited to go. Compare that to how it all ended. That like rocked me. I was like, dude, you
Yeah.
you just forget how it all started because of all the tension and all the deaths that happened, and yeah, the sacrifice, everything you're talking about. It was just that was epic, an epic way
Yeah.
to end the movie, and I loved it.
Yeah, no, honestly, this movie, this is coming from just some dude, but this is a movie that I'm like, I feel like everybody needs to watch this film. Like, if you're interested in space in any way, you like that genre, this should be at the top of your list of a movie that you need to watch.
Well, what would you rate this, Harry?
I think it's pretty. This is a 5 out of 5. Now, to be straight, I remember when I sat down to actually rate it on Letterboxd, I did give it a 4.5, and then I thought about it for 2 days. And I was like, "What's stopping me?" Like,
Yeah,
hit that 5.
yeah,
Yeah, hit that 5. I won't be shocked if in a few months, if I sit down and I write my top 10, I won't be shocked if your Europa Report ends up on top.
yeah. I just personally, like I said, it's not really my style of film, but I enjoyed the hell out of it. I thought it was incredible, way better than what I was expecting. I don't know why. Just I guess when you don't hear about things often or prominently in reviews and lists and stuff, you're like, oh, I haven't heard of this. You mentioned too much. Can't be that good. But probably has some good elements to it, but it was awesome. Really enjoyed it, and this is a great movie to definitely discuss and deep dive because it's so deep. Just everything you said, Scott, was awesome.
Yeah. But what did you end up rating it?
Just personally, just on my scale, I give it like a 4 out of 5. I do feel like you guys liked it a little more than me, but it's just because of the style of the film. But I will
Mhm.
watch this every couple years for sure. Like this, it
Yeah.
was awesome. I really enjoyed it.
I do feel like this is a really good candidate for a movie that when someone's like, "Oh, what's a good underrated film?" It's like it's
Yeah,
Europa Report. That's what it
absolutely,
is.
absolutely.
Yeah, I would say similar to you, Harrison. I came in expecting to give it a 4, but as what's stopping me? I think probably just stubbornness. I think the fact that this movie has been one of the slimiest movies in my whole life, in an absolute positive way, that I can't even think of the words to describe the way this movie made me feel, kind of way. It's probably a 5. I think it deserves to go down in the annals of history with a 5 from some random dude.
Which honestly it's really interesting to like look. It's just online, and user ratings doesn't really matter, but it's really interesting to look at. Like Letterboxd has this at like a 3, IMDb has it at like a 6.4, and I'm literally watching. I'm like, how could you rate it that low? Like it's not clicking in my head. Like I can see like a 4 out of 5 to a 5 out of 5, but anything below that, I'm just like, I'm sorry, I don't understand. I don't understand how you can think that low of this movie. I mean, that's probably just me being all pompous about it, but
Yeah, it probably has to do with, I think, like sci-fi fans. They'll probably watch everything as long as it's sci-fi related in space. And if you put it on that scale, this movie is much different. And also like not a lot of special effects as in like explosions, and I don't know, it's just probably too tame for the average viewer, but those who know, and this movie's, yeah,
You know,
underrated.
I kind of want to make a parallel to The Martian because both of these movies could be described somewhat similarly.
ooh,
It's like a grounded
I like this.
sci-fi focus on scientific accuracy. It's isolation on a planet. Those kinds of things, right? On paper, they sound in the same genre. And I remember when I watched The Martian, all I could think about was this movie. And I don't want to give the wrong impression. I think The Martian is a great movie, and I really enjoy it like a lot, but I don't think The Martian was as good as this. But my sister-in-law and my wife that watched The Martian with me at the same time were like floored by The
Mhm.
Martian. And I came away going, I mean, that was a really good like pop flick. Like it was grounded in science. Like it was like they balanced it perfectly. And this, I think, just had a bigger impact that I think Martian and Europa Report, they make a similar case for sacrifice for the greater understanding of scientific endeavors, like those polar expeditions that we can read the journals from and stuff like that. But I don't know. I feel that this movie is just more powerful. It's more introspective. It's more personal.
Just a slight story about The Martian. I remember I was living with my in-laws for about like 9 months or something like that, and I remember I woke up and my father-in-law was watching the Martian, and I watched it for a little while. Then I went to work or did whatever, and when I came home, he was watching The Martian, and I was like, "Isn't this the beginning of the movie?" He's like, "Yeah, I don't know, it just came on," and I was like, "Okay," and then I don't know, went and did stuff and cooked dinner or did whatever, and then I came back and he was watching The Martian. he
What?
watched it. He watched it. He watched it 3 times in one day. It blew my mind. I was like, "What?" I was like, "Okay, like it's a
That's a
good
pretty
movie. I
good
don't think it's not."
recommendation.
I
Like
was like,
talk about unscripted recommendations for a movie. If someone is like embarrassed that they're not even like making a big deal that they watched it 3 times in one day and you just catch that, that's a pretty good recommendation.
I would say no. Like I said, like I think The Martian is a good film, but it doesn't. It has some strong emotional moments in it, but like I don't know. In the middle, you're just kind of like it's interesting. I think The Martian is an interesting movie, and Europa Report is an emotional, impactful movie to me. I think that just as a quick little 2-second summary, I think that's how I feel about it.
I haven't seen it, but if Miss Honey's not in it, I have no interest.
What's the point?
Yeah. No thanks. I'll pass.
I mean,
Harry,
I could sit down and watch Matilda right
Harry's
now.
in it.
Who? Who's Harry?
Harry from Dumb and Dumber, he's in it.
Yeah, he is.
Really? Okay, cool. Jeff Daniels?
Yep, Jeff Daniels, man. I appreciate the fact that this film was in our solar system and close to home. I feel like, I don't know, like it had a stronger impact on me because of that. When a space film is like, oh, this livable planet is a zillion light years away, you're just like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a very believable film. This could be 10 years out or less. Like, this could definitely happen.
All right, I'm calling it, guys. We have to bring Harrison to the Hollywood theater to watch 2010 or 2001. And then we need to come home and we need to watch 2010. I don't care if we review it and we talk about it. I feel intimidated by talking about 2001 on this podcast. We'll just get ripped to shreds. But Harrison, you have to watch 2010, but you have to watch 2001 to watch 2010. And I also think you need to watch 2001.
That was a good discussion. You know, not a fun movie, but powerful, extremely effective. I think I said effective maybe 6 times on this.
Probably.
Episode. But dude, yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It was awesome. And next week's show is going to be a little different because it's going to be more fun, I guess. But
I don't know.
maybe.
Alien. I don't know if Alien is more fun.
Oh, wait, you're right. I was thinking Fifth Element.
No, that one's got to be fun though.
But I've already got a lot to say about the Fifth Element.
I forgot Alien. Okay, my bad. We're doing Alien.
Yeah. So this, I was really interested in the lineup of how these 4 movies came out because I have watched all 4.
Yeah.
Right. And so I was like, Prometheus as the first, I think is the weakest of all of these movies. Europa is totally different, and I think it's going to land well. But then to go back to a Ridley Scott movie that's better than Prometheus, I think is awesome. And then to end it on such a silly, awesome movie like The Fifth Element, like what a great lineup for space.
Totally.
It covers a lot of things. I think it's great.
I have one question, whether we keep this in or not. Out of the movies we've watched so far, give me your top 3 slimiest movies in order.
I mean, we just watched it, but I think I'm going to put Europa Report as number 1 for right now. I feel like it has to be They Live. I think They Live has to be one in my top 3, and probably The Northman. I think those are my 3. I'm gonna look at our list real quick just to make sure, but I think those are my top 3 so far.
Yeah, They Live, RoboCop for me, Northman, and shout out to Jungle Book.
I love that one hit you harder than you thought it was going to.
Yeah, great. I enjoyed it. It was great. just so family friendly and just great.
Just saying, by the way, I really just looking at our list of movies we've done, I think Clue like sticks out like a sore thumb. It's really funny to me.
Yeah.
I hope that we continue. I hope we don't end up like putting ourselves into kind of like a category of this movie's good enough or this movie's not good enough to be on the list.
I agree.
I hope that we continue to like branch out and just be like, guys, I freaking loved it. It sucks. We're just gonna watch it. Okay?
It sucks. Let's do
Super
it.
Mario Brothers from the 80s or the 90s or whatever is going to be in here. So it'll be in there eventually.
Awesome. Great show. We'll see you next week for Alien. And Harrison, have you seen it? Yes or no?
I've not seen Alien. I see Aliens, but I haven't seen Alien.
No, that's right. Okay. You're going to be terrified. It's the scariest of all the Alien movies. It's awesome.
I'm hyped. It's going to be great.
All right, cool.
It has a squid in it.
That's a wrap, and thanks for hanging out with us. Cinema Slime is a production hosted by Harrison Jensen, Ren Jensen, and Scott Shepard. This episode was mixed, edited, and produced by Harrison with design and art by Ren. There's more slime coming your way, so don't forget to subscribe, share, and drop a comment. You can find us on all your favorite social media platforms with links in the episode notes, and on Patreon, we will have exclusive content and merch. Until next time, go watch a movie.